So first of all, I'd like to just thanks for your presence, and it's a pleasure for us to have you with us in this morning or wherever you are. So I believe there are participants from all different time zones and places. So mainly, I guess it's from Malaysia, the audience, and also the Australia maybe. So really appreciate for your presence this morning or in the afternoon. And without further ado, I think I would like to just quickly walk through with you on what we're going to talk about this webinar. And yeah, today we have basically collaborate with Valo to have this webinar on this how to build a modern digital workplace by using this SharePoint and Microsoft Teams, and how the seamless experience that you will be going through with your users in the companies. And I understand that you probably owns Office 365 or not. So I guess that's the ways that we can basically like just walk through further. Yeah, that's what we're going to share with you in a couple of minutes later. And this webinar basically take for an hour sessions. So just bear in mind that it's about 11 to about 12 o'clock time in Malaysia. And I'm the host for today, Patrick, and I'm the sales specialist that hosted this webinar for you. So hope you do enjoy the entire sessions with us. And yeah, let's move into the agenda for today, that what we're going to cover in later on, another 45 minutes later on. So the introductions that I'm going to do at the first, and also I also like introduce about Valo together with our Valo experts with us, and I'll be having some conversations with also Valo experts to talk about basically how we actually can make this a modern digital workplace in our companies. And of course, we'll be walking through with you on the real demo that what we're going to show with you later on this Valo solutions on Valo Intranet, so Valo Connects. And of course, at the end of the sessions, we have this Q&A for you to basically have any kind of queries. Feel free to just drop into a chat, or we will leave it at the Q&A sections to basically get you a reply. Yeah. So I think next, I would like to just move in quickly. Just do allow me to just walk through quickly on the introductions about my company. So SLKK is basically a Malaysia-based companies that we've been in these IT fields for more than like 23 years. So mainly on like system integrations or like any kind of software solutions that we provide to our customers. So we are also a leading Microsoft cloud partners. So we are on the Go rankings, and mainly we are focusing a lot on these cloud platforms like Azure or Office 365 solutions. And of course, we do also work with like major technology vendors such as like HPE or Dell, and so on and so forth. So those are our partner. Of course, Valo is also a reason we onboarded as a partner with them. Yeah, and yeah, to kickstart on some of the business solutions for our customers. And as a profile of our SLKK, we have about serving like 600 over clients that throughout the whole Malaysia. And of course, we have some counterparts in different countries, such as like we have it in Singapore and also Philippines. So in Malaysia, we have two offices, one in the center of Malaysia and the other one is in the southern of Malaysia. Yeah, so I believe some of you could be like familiar with us, or some of you could be new to us. So I hope this quick intro that you can get some ideas about our companies and the host for today. And of course, we look forward to engage further. So let's without further ado on this, I would like to just quickly do an introductions about Valo and how's the collaborations with Valo throughout this time. And I believe that's definitely a sessions that we will be share with you further. And like Valo solution is basically mainly on like intranet portal or either some of the solutions to enable in the Office 365 service such as like Microsoft Teams and so on. So of course, we'll be sharing with you furthermore once we are having our Valo experts to be with us now. So let's welcome I'd like to invite our co-host partner, Daniel, from a Valo APAC team to share with us further about his profile as well as like some of the background of Valo.
Thanks,
Hi,
Patrick.
Daniel.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks for inviting me on to this webinar. First of all, welcome to everybody that is joining live. If you are watching this on record, then I hope this is going to bring you some value. As Patrick said, my name's Daniel. I am from Valo, and I'm the partner manager and product evangelist for Valo in the APAC region. So my role is to work closely with partners like SRKK in ensuring that our products are deployed and the outcomes that you receive as customers are the best that they can possibly be. So I'm based in Melbourne, Australia. And we all of our APAC business is run out of Melbourne. So I've been working and deploying intranets and digital workplace solutions for around about 15 years. So starting with SharePoint in the very early days, and have helped a number of different organisations across the way to deploy some of those features and functionalities. I'm also heavily involved with the Microsoft community and with Microsoft themselves. So look, it's good to be here with everybody, and hopefully what we're going to discuss and then in the end showcase will bring you some value. So thanks again. So moving on a little bit now, let's have a bit of a talk about and a bit of an intro about Valo, the company. So Valo is a global company, and you can see on the screen there that we are very well represented across the globe. So we've got headquarters in Montreal, Helsinki, and also here in Melbourne. We do service around about 700 plus customers across 50 odd different countries, and we do have a very strong partner network, and SRKK is obviously a very strong partner in Malaysia and Southeast Asia and the APAC area as well. So not only are we servicing APAC, but as you can see, across the globe as well. Just a few numbers for you as well. I've already mentioned the number of customers and the countries and the partners that we service and that we have. In terms of users, you'll notice there that we do have over 2.5 million active users across our solutions across the globe. So that's a very large number. Valo as a company in excess of 70 people. We do also and lucky enough to have a very high number of Microsoft MVPs on our staff as well. So very, very highly regarded in that respect, and that ensures that our solutions are very well developed and are very well aligned with Microsoft best practices as well. Now, as a company, again, we've been around, early 2015, and as you can see again on the screen, we've been lucky enough to be highlighted and featured and very well acknowledged across the journey as well. So, just last year, we were awarded the Microsoft ISV Partner of the Year in 2020, and also featured in the Clearbox reporting. So Clearbox is an independent consultancy out of the UK that reviews all of these products, Intranet in a box solutions, I'll call it, which we are part of. So we're lucky enough to be and good enough to be the Intranet Choice of the Year for 2020. So it's a very good accolade for us to have, and something that is that you can also be rest assured that that the product itself is very highly regarded.
All right. Thank you so much for the great sharing on the background about Valo and yourself. And yeah, it sounds interesting that Valo been quite well established in throughout internationals, and of course we are really look forward on the later on presentations on what you're going to showcase in a couple of minutes. And that's probably the interesting part that we will have more insight about it. So let's move on to our next agenda. Well, basically, I would like to just bring up some topics that I probably had the conversations with my Malaysia customers, and I would like to just having these conversations with Daniel with us today, and why is it we need a modern digital workplace. So I'll just go through a few topics that I'm going to just share with our audience today as well. Yep, so there might be a few seconds of delays from your screen, so no worries about it. So let's move on to the topics that I'm going to ask, would like to just have this with Daniel. So basically is publishing or disseminating important company infos to the entire workforce. So I guess it's at this moment of time, and we're really having some challenges to really deliver like crisis communications or announcements from the top level of management towards the probably a frontliner or the bottom levels of the executive. So I think that's probably I was just hear from my customers, especially during this pandemic time, and probably they will have this challenge to onboard users to the online. And of course, as a look at the Malaysia's standard procedures that we will kind of limit like 30% of workforce to be allowed into the organizations right now, and more than 70% basically is work remotely. So what do you think, Daniel, is that you think on this part that Valo play as a role?
Yeah, look, I think, as you mentioned, making company information readily available to the right people at the right time is extremely important. And it's obviously been highlighted recently with the change in workplace practices and the locations of where people are working. Has meant that companies have had to revisit and look at how they disseminate and how they publish this important information to their employees. So ensuring that they've got access to the right information, to whether it be news or announcements or company updates or even policies and procedures and online forms and those type of things. Just making sure that those resources and that information is easily accessible to people no matter where they're working. So whether organizations go back to fully office-based work or it's going to be more of a hybrid type model, things like that, we need to make sure that not only do we have to be in the office to access this information, but we can access that from anywhere. And by implementing, whether it's an intranet or utilizing SharePoint and in combination Microsoft Teams, it's going to help facilitate that that publishing of that information. But one of the key aspects here is making sure that we're not bombarded with information. So ensuring that when I, as a user, log in, I'm seeing the relevant information to me, so that I am not having to wade through that information, but having that targeted and relevant information that when I log into our company portal, that I'm seeing the most relevant and important information. So it's an important aspect, and especially now and in recent times, we've obviously seen that, and I'm sure, Patrick, you've seen that yourself, whether that's internally or with the organisations that you're working with. I'm sure you've seen that as well.
Yeah, I agree with you, Daniel, and that's the things that I'm seeing, is that the adoptions like Microsoft Teams or any platforms on Office 365, it really like go even faster in terms of like adoptions by the users. I think next things that they probably can look at like SharePoint, how SharePoint can actually build as a portal as a corporate portal to roll out like certain communications to really on the further engagement.
Yeah, right. And I think in addition to that, probably and a key aspect is all around the user experience as well. So, you can be using these tools and these platforms, but not not making it complex for people to find information or to consume that important information, not making it hard for them. So really improving and increasing that really the really important factor of the user experience and the employee experience, as they call it.
Yeah, that's cool. So let's look at the next topic that I'm going to share further, is that how actually that we can make most out of the Office 365, as we know that Office 365 is bundled with like Exchange, OneDrive, and so on and so forth, and especially like Microsoft Teams or even like a SharePoint, or we even talk about like Power Platform nowadays by Microsoft. I guess those are the certain new technologies that be introduced into the markets. So I guess there's always a common feedback that I got it from my client, is that how is it like to really make use of Office 365 by paying the worth of the dollars that I'm paying every year on the renewals. And yeah, that's the things that probably that's the values to bring as a return of investment for the companies. And simply just like they could like say SharePoint could be just too far away or too complex to be implemented. I think that's probably I would like to hear from you, Daniel. What do you think from your side?
Yeah, I think obviously with Office 3 or Microsoft 365, you're paying for a license. Now, part of that license, you have an abundance of tools to achieve certain outcomes. Now, a lot of times, and you've mentioned to me before that a lot of organizations are using Office 365, but really only maybe for email. So there's so many other tools, and we've spoken about SharePoint and Teams just now as well. But I think it's probably more almost a lack of knowledge or awareness or education as to what these tools can do, and making a platform like SharePoint easy to use and easy to let's say author content, easy to look at, easy to find stuff. It goes a very long way into the user adoption of those tools. So removing the friction or the frustration or the what's perceived as a hard tool to use, then allows an organization to better adopt that technology. So that's a key part. And what you'll see later on in the demos is that how easy it is to be able to use these tools and really adopt and have your organization adopt those platforms.
Yeah, I believe that that's also part of the objectives for Microsoft to really embark more users towards this like SharePoint or more on the collaboration platform, Microsoft Teams, and the rest. So I think that's pretty much that we kind of align back as a partners. So let's look at the next questions that I'm going to have with you, and basically it's more into the security. So I guess it's more into the internal and external communications. So we are today like probably we own Office 365 and we are leveraging on the Office 365. So I think right now, I think especially on internal, I think it's still like kind of they kind of like adopt it's quite well. Just that in terms of like external communication. So sometimes they tend to be use some consumer applications to really like just for the sake of convenience and have it a quick chat, or even like sometimes I could be just send out a company information which is so highly privacy, and it could be just lead the data breach from there. And yeah, any platform could be in the consumer apps, yeah, like such as like WhatsApp, WeChats. I think we've been using it quite a lot. Yeah. So what do you think that actually from the corporate perspective that they should actually look at a security layer by just leveraging on what they have in Office 365? Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, if your business, and a lot of businesses these days rely heavily on constant and consistent communication with internal stakeholders, so your staff, even external contractors or suppliers or vendors or clients and those type of users as well, sharing of that information is inevitable, right? So for any workplaces really of any size, it's probably not any longer practical to work on these documents or share this information or provide this information without sharing it with guests or external users or even internal users. And, you know, there's obviously all the downside to using consumer products. There's lack of security. There's, you know, all of that corporate IP that could be leaking via these products as well, or these services. So the optimal collaboration depends on that seamless and secure cross both internal and cross-company exchange of information. So what Valo can do and build on top of SharePoint and also inside Microsoft Teams, we can make sure that that information is secure, not only secure, but also, you know, reaches the right people, both internally and externally.
Yeah, I think indeed it's true that probably it is about the data that holds it by third-party solutions or consumer apps. That probably would be a kind of challenge to the companies to able to control on those data leakage, all these things. So I do agree that we should look into more into how do we enable more on the Office 365 tools that able to provide. So moving on, that I would like to also hear from you that as throughout my sales journey in SLKK, that I've been hearing I'm having an in-house intranet, or I having a customized intranet in-house. And I guess this is the things that I think a lot of companies, they are rather just to maintain for what they have for today, and then they will rather just not move to be more comfortable with right now the whole structure in the intranet. And I think they are having a challenge to really move on to the probably, let's say, SharePoint to build as an intranet. And it kind of having, even they kind of having a dilemma that whether this is a silo system that it probably have to heavy dependence on the developer that have built up these solutions. And that's the next thing that they are going to look at, the data synchronizations once they onboarded into a more trendy kind of solutions. That's where that they probably have to look into those data synchronizations, integrations, and the database. So how do you think that if today I'm going to just onboard to a SharePoint intranet, and how would the experience would be?
Well, if we're talking about you know, pitfalls of in-house intranets and that type of thing, I think there's a, you know, we find a lot of organizations are moving to you know, products, intranet in a box products like Valo, like us, in terms, and there's a few key areas. First of all, around resourcing. So companies and organizations, if you know, you're going to look at doing this in-house, you need to have those resources. You need to pay for those resources. They need to be skilled in certain areas. So that's a, you know, for an organization, that's a big outlay, right? So we need to look at staffing and resourcing. But one of the big things is keeping up with the platform changes. So as we know, Microsoft and SharePoint, Microsoft 365 changes pretty much every other week. So not only do you need to have the resourcing, they need to be upskilled and up to date with what's changing from Microsoft, and they need to make any adjustments or any changes or things like that as they may need to. If you've got in-house developers that are developing custom web parts or, you know, custom solutions, they need to be also ensuring that they're supported. Right, so they need to be taking the time to you know, to test the solutions on the platform. If there's changes to the underlying the platform itself that may break something that because it hasn't been developed properly, or those type of situations, they're common situations that in-house developed intranets seem to come across. Also feature additions or additions to functionality, you know, again, taking away from that resources time in doing some other job in their role as well. So by not having or going to a product like Valo, then that's taken care of. I mean, we handle all the updates, we handle all the feature additions, we roll out new features and functionalities regularly. We also do all the support. Right. So if Microsoft changes something and we need to roll out a hot fix, then that's all taken care of without having to rely on internal resources to manage that process.
Yeah, I think that's kind of important to have really a vendor support throughout the journeys to introduce a new technology, especially like if there's a hard coding or what. I believe Microsoft been emphasized on the low code or no code platforms. So I believe that we are kind of aligned and is kind of user-friendly solutions that we're going to share with you in a couple of minutes later. So I've been hearing from you, Daniel, that there are a couple of components in Valo's solution. So probably I'll leave it the time for you to really walk through with us what are the really key selling of the Valo solutions and what are the functions and also experience that could bring to the end users. All right, over to you, the screens.
Sounds good. All right, so as we've mentioned, thanks, Patrick. Good discussions there. So as you can see on the screen here, Valo solutions encompass a number of different products. So we'll quickly have a look at these. We're going to focus mainly today, especially in the demos, around Valo Intranet and Valo Connect. So Intranet obviously is fairly self-explanatory. Now Valo Connect is a new product of ours that really does bring in all of your digital workplace tools and applications and software into Microsoft Teams. So it might be SharePoint, it might be documents, it might be Power Apps or line of business apps or external line of business applications. We can now bring all of that into Microsoft Teams so that your users don't even need to leave Teams to access all of that information. Again, touching on that user experience, it provides a great experience for your staff and your end users. Valo Teamwork is all around the provisioning of Teams, the templating, the life cycle, the governance of Microsoft Teams and Office 365 groups. We've also got products around the extranet solutions or scenarios. Okay, so we've got Valo Extranet and Entrance, which allows us to easily manage external users or guest access to our platform. So think of the scenario of an external facing portal. You've got a number of clients or partners or vendors that you want to give access to some resources. So you can use Valo Entrance to map those external users or even B2B entire companies and provide them a self-service registration experience and give them access to the important information that they need. We've also got Valo Ideas, which is an ideation tool built inside of Microsoft Teams, fully Teams integrated, so it allows organizations to ideate and co-innovate across a company as well. Okay. Now, specifically around the Valo Intranet, jam-packed full of features. We do have all of the features and functionalities that you would expect out of an intranet. We've got the ability to brand and customize the user interface to your company's brand. Mega menu. We've got so feature-rich advanced news publishing and targeting, important messages, surveys and polls, people directories, org charts, and lots of that are there ready for you to use out of the box. Okay, plus a couple of additional add-ons with social. You can bring in all your social feeds into the one hub. We've got people directories, as I've said. We've got multilingual support and also analytics and learning and governance through the adoption add-on as well. And then we come to Valo Connect. So that's bringing, as I said before, bringing all of your digital workplace tools and software solutions into Microsoft Teams. We can bring any part of that. So it might be a document search, it might be your policies and procedures, your news and announcements, people directories, and even line of business applications we can bring in. Now, with that, we we'll now, I'm going to start sharing my screen. We'll jump into a demo and we are going to go straight into a Valo Intranet example here. So let's share my screen and we will now jump straight into this demo. So as you can see on the screen here, what you're looking at is SharePoint Online. So this is an example of a homepage, and this would be when an employee or a staff member logs in. This is what they could be presented with. So you can see we've got a global navigation across the top. Now this grey bar is your Office 365 navigation bar. It's where you access all of your Office 365 applications. So that stays with you across the entire platform. But next up, and the next level down is your Intranet navigation, and it's a global navigation system, and it's a custom built one. So as I hover over these navigation items here, you'll see that it drops down into a mega menu. So it looks really nice, it's easy to use, and users can browse and navigate to the location that they need to go to. You'll also see that we've got the ability to add in what we call to action sections of the global navigation. So you can see here, I've got a nice big image that links off to a public website. Okay, now not only is this nice to look at and drops down into a mega menu, but there's some additional functionality here. So we can target these links or navigation items at certain audiences. So you can see under internal services here that we've got a group of links for human resources. Now there might be a couple there that are only really relevant to the human resources team. So we can target those links at that department, and they will only display for that department and nobody else. So again, just touching on that only seeing the things that are most relevant to you. So we can audience target these, okay? We've also got a My Tools section through the global nav here that has two use cases. One that's personal for the logged in user, so I can see and manage my own links as a user. And we've also got at a company level the ability to post and publish external and links for the rest of the organization. So it's a nice central place it might be to an ERP system or a finance system. If we keep scrolling down the page here, you can see that we've got all of our news highlighted. So these are all your corporate communications. So we've got a rotating carousel here that is of highlighted or featured news. And when I click on these news items, I'm taken to this nice looking and nicely engaging page for that particular user. Okay, and you can see I can scroll, I can consume that content. And again, accessible on any device. So as long as you've got an internet connection, it's fully responsive and it caters for the device that you're on. You'll also notice on the right-hand side, we've got this little app launcher here. So these are your, for let's say your frequently accessed areas of your digital workplace. So we've got leave applications, expense claims here. We've got policies and procedures. And once again, these can be audience targeted. So there might be, because I'm a member of the HR team, I might see certain links, but Patrick, let's say, as part of the IT team, might see other links. So it's, again, relevant to the logged in user. You can see when I keep scrolling down the page here, I've got some more news that is rolling through the homepage and aggregating the most recently published items. I've got also local news. So this is news that's targeted at my location. So I might be working out of the Melbourne office and I can see all company news, which is global news, but I can also see local news. So anything that's relevant to my location, or it could be my department, or it could be my job title, or anything that's been targeted at me as a user. I've also got the ability here to scroll up and roll up all the events that are happening across the company as well. All right, so we're aggregating all the upcoming events, and you'll see this tabbed interface here where we can display different pieces of information in different tabs. So again, making use of the real estate on a homepage, we can use a tabbed interface. You'll also see on the homepage in this example, we've got an employee spotlight. So this could be used for highlighting employees of the month, new starters, or people that are doing some really good work. All right. So not only have we got the news and events, we've also got, and an important part of the portal is it becomes the landing page for a staff member so that they can then access anything that they need to across the intranet. Now, this is just one example of a particular layout. But what you'll see here is you've got the flexibility also to be able to change the layout and visually make it look different. So you can see here, we've just changed layouts now to a full width carousel of highlighted news. Our links have now turned into little tokens that flip across. We've still got our global news that we can scroll through and have a look at. We've got our events, we've got our employee spotlight, but this time you'll see I've also got a poll on our homepage. So we've got the ability to embed polls as well. All right. Now, I touched on people before. Now, people across an organization are really important aspects of a company, right? So, and having the ability to find the right people for a particular job or a service, or just find out information about people across a company is really important. So what comes with Valo as well is a people directory. Now, this is the information that you see on the screen here in this directory is automatically pulled and populated from what's called your Azure Active Directory. And the information on the people cards that we see, we've got phone numbers and email addresses, departments, job titles, photos, and all of that important information. We can do some freeform text search here. So we can search for people by first name or surname. We can also filter and refine our results based on what are called user profile properties. So as a user, I might be looking for somebody in marketing. I don't really know who they are, but I can say, right, show me everybody in the marketing team. And there we've got Alex and Megan that are part of the marketing team. Or I might be looking for somebody that fulfills a particular role. So let's say I'm looking for the directors. So I can say, right, show me all the directors. And there's the 3 directors there. All right. So fully baked and integrated people directory. The other thing that I'll bring your attention to here as well is an organizational chart, and a more traditional type of organizational chart in a tree structure. So we can see here that we're starting at Miriam as the director, but I might want to go up a level to Patty as the president, and I can see all her direct reports. I can then navigate my way through the company based on the organizational structure, and I can see that Megan's got one user or one person that's reporting to her, and that's Alex. So in addition to that people directory, we've got the ability and the functionality of a more traditional organizational chart as well. Okay. Now, let's turn our attention a little bit now to the authoring process. So there's going to be groups of people that are responsible for authoring the content. Now, if you've used SharePoint before, it might have been a little bit cumbersome and hard to use. Intranets tended to become static and not updated frequently. So what we've done with the Valo Intranet is build out what we call our Valo toolbox. So you can see in the bottom right-hand corner here that I've got a little toolbox icon. Now, given the appropriate permissions, I can use this to create all of my content. So let's say I want to create a piece of news. What I can do here is click Create Content. I can click then Create News, and I've got the option here to create my news. You'll also see that I can choose from templates. Now, you can create your own templates. Okay, so you can create a page layout with content, with images, and you can save that as a template, and we can create that. So again, making use and streamlining that authoring process, making it easy for people to create that content is something that's really important. We can see here also, if I change over to the HR site in this example, I've got some quick links to important information in the HR team. I've got the HR news. I've also got any job opportunities here that the HR team are publishing, and I've got the HR organizational chart here. But when I go into create content and I go into create news, you can see I've got the same thing. So it doesn't matter where I am across the intranet, I can create my news and my content directly from this toolbox. Now, the same thing applies to pages. So let's say we want to create a page about how to apply for leave, or what's the process, what's the process to submit our expenses, that type of information. We can also create those type of pages. Now you'll see also here that I've got some templates, and let me click on Valo page template here. And this is one I created earlier. You can see that it's already got a header image, it's already got a title, and it's already got some content. So let's say I want to create a page on how do I apply for leave. And you can see I can classify and tag this content also. All right. So I can say, right, let's tag this content as a particular topic. So it's a how do I. Let's choose a business area, and we'll also choose a office location, because this process really only applies to Paris. So we can select an image if we want to, fully baked in with stock images or recent images. You can upload your own. So you've got a lot of flexibility there. But let's just use the template and we'll create that. So the page creation process is super fast. Once it's been created, you're going to be taken directly to that page, and you can see that it's based on this template. But we might want to change a few things. So obviously need to change the text, right? So we can click in and we can change our text. We don't want any of this. We might want to add a contact person. So for additional information, contact this person. So let's pop in Alex as the contact person, and I can even add some more reference links if I want to as well. Now, you'll see that we can use all of the out-of-the-box SharePoint web parts that come just there out of the box. We can add images, all right? And again, we've got the capabilities to use any of the images, any of the stock images, or upload your own. We can add video content. We can add other multimedia type of content. And then we can then publish that page, all right? So nice and quick and easy to be able to create and author some really engaging types of content. Now you'll also see down here through this content toolbox that we can create events. So when I click on event, I'm taken through this guided experience, start dates, end dates, recurring events, all day events, different locations. We can even categorize our events here, and you've got the capability to customize what the categories are. All right. We can also create polls and important messages. So if there's an important message that you want to send to or make visible to your staff, we can say, right, let's say the ERP system is down tomorrow. So we might want to write a little bit of information about that. It's an alert. We can give it a start date and an end date. And what's going to happen here is we can add an additional link if we want to, but we can also target these at our audience as well. Now, I spoke about audience targeting before around links and the quick links dashboard on the homepage. We can also do that to our important messages. So we might say, right, this really only relates to the HR team. So we're going to select HR, and that would target this announcement at HR, and nobody else would see it. All right, so let's create that now, and that's been created. Now that appears as a banner across the top of the intranet, highly visible, easily accessible, and it's reaching the right people at the right time because I've targeted that information at those people. Okay. Now, search is obviously something that's a really big thing across the intranet. So not only with news and announcements, but documents. So let's talk about policies and procedures, a very common scenario. So we've got a library of policies and procedures that we need to make available to all of our company. Or we might have a document center or an employee, a document hub. So what you can see on the screen here is specifically at policies and procedures. Now we can also provide this search experience. So I might be looking for a particular policy, and I can just do a freeform text search. It's dynamic, and I'm bringing back the results automatically live for me through a freeform text search. But in addition to that, what we can do is we can filter and refine our results. So if I know that I'm looking for a document from HR, then I can say, right, let's select HR. There's a single document. All right, so I've got the results nice and quickly and easily. No clicking through folders, no asking HR, where's that document? I'm looking at the single source of truth here through a search experience. But I might be looking, because I might be visiting an office location. I might be looking at for a particular policy for the New York office. So I can click on New York and I've got their policies here. All right. So not only can we do freeform text, we can provide a really rich search experience for users around our documents. Okay. Now, let's turn our attention now to Microsoft Teams. So we've spoken about the intranet, we've spoken about SharePoint providing the platform for this intranet, the publishing capabilities, the targeting, the security, the documents. Now, if we're implementing Teams or we're utilizing Teams, why not give the option and the capabilities and the ability for us to stay inside of Teams? So I'm going to flick over to Teams here and I'm going to introduce Valo Connect. Now, as we spoke about previously, Valo Connect is a Teams-based application that brings all of your digital workplace tools and content into the place where people are working, in this case, in Microsoft Teams. So you can see I'm a member of 3 different teams here. I've got sales and marketing, retail, and Mark8 project. So rather than having to go out again to another tab, a different application, or a different browser, I can actually bring this into our corporate communications and our intranet, in this case, into Microsoft Teams as a personal application on the left-hand side rail of Teams. Now, in this case, it's called Valo Connect with our logo, but it can be customized. It can be called whatever you want to call your application with your own customized logo. Now, you can see here that I'm bringing in the home page of our intranet. Now, it's the same, right? So the experience is the same. But because we're in Teams, we actually stay in context and we're context aware, and we actually can read our news. We can access all of our content without having to leave Teams. All right. So we've got the home page. Now, you'll notice that there's no navigation, global navigation here. But what we do and what we can provide is the ability to toggle on or off that global navigation. So I'm just going to jump into this configuration option here, and I'm going to untick this box and I'm going to save that. And what you'll see on the screen is that the global navigation now is going to appear across the top of this tab. So now I've got the ability to navigate my way through our intranet directly from within inside Teams. Now, as a content author, I've also now got the ability to create my content inside of Teams, but it's actually publishing it on the intranet. Again, focusing on that customer, that user experience, the employee experience, and making it easy. Not only can we bring our intranet content in, we can bring in those document searches and the enterprise search experience inside of Teams. So you'll see here, this is the company document hub. So I can do all my search that I want to, I might be wanting to find an offer letter template from the intranet. So I can do that from within Connect as well. And I've got the similar experience to what we saw in the intranet. Now, this is where it gets pretty intuitive. So we've got that people directory that we saw on the intranet. I've now brought that inside of Teams. I'm looking for Alan. I really need to have a chat with him. So rather than ringing him or sending him an email, I really just want to have a chat. So let's search for Alan. And when I click on Alan, then that's because we're in Teams. Why not use that platform, right? So we're going to start a new conversation, start a new chat with Alan directly. So again, staying in context of Teams, we're utilizing that platform to streamline that communication and make it really easy for us to not only communicate, but access that content. Now, we touched on policies and procedures just before. Again, we can bring in targeted search experiences into here as well. And this is specifically for policies and procedures. While before we saw more of an enterprise search, here we're specifically looking at policies and procedures. Now, we can also bring in not only SharePoint content and documents, but other line of business applications. So you can see here I've got a Power App that allows me to book a meeting room with or without meetings. And I can utilize this application directly inside of Teams. So we're creating that experience for an end user that they don't even need to leave Teams anymore. We can access all of this information and task-based things that we need to get done. We can actually bring that into Microsoft Teams as well. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is, although we're speaking about a personal app here, we've actually got the ability to bring Valo Connect at a team level as well. All right, so I'm going to use this Mark 8 project team. I'm going to jump into the general channel. So what we can do is we can extend this team and add Valo Connect as a tab inside this channel. And by default, what I've got set up in Connect are some default tabs. Now, when people and organizations are migrating to Teams, they might have a lot of different channels, a lot of different documents that are residing in folders, in different channels, in the Files tab. So rather than having to navigate to every single channel, to the Files tab in every single channel, what we can bring in here is a Teams-based search. So the first tab you're looking at here is the news that's happening in my team, but I've also got that document search across all of these channels, all of the folders that are directly inside of this team. And I can also then do a search, and it's dynamic. It's going to bring back the content that I'm looking for. It doesn't matter which folder or which channel it's in at all. But as a team owner, I can also bring in our company document hub here as well. So not only the team-based stuff, but also that company-related information as well. So with Valo Connect in combination with Valo Intranet provides a really great user experience for everybody. We can bring and create some really compelling and great experiences across your organization, utilizing what you're already paying for with your Office 365 or Microsoft 365 license, and that's SharePoint and also Microsoft Teams. Okay, so Patrick, I think we'll leave it there for the demo. And that was a lot of information there. So hopefully that provided a lot of value to everybody, and it does really showcase what can be achieved and the things that can be implemented across Microsoft 365 with Valo solutions.
Yep. Thank you so much, Daniel, for sharing such an insightful demo. And really, it's interesting that I think it's really a Valo for us to compare to what we used to see in SharePoint, which is the default designs, compared to what you have in Valo Intranet. So I think that's probably something news to us. So let's see what's next that we're going to have here.
So we're going to move into some Q&A. So if there is anybody in the audience that wants to ask any questions, we're here to answer those. So you can use the Q&A section of this Microsoft Teams live event to post your questions in there. If you want to take some questions offline or reach out to Patrick after the event, then reach out to Patrick. Now, there is a question there, Patrick, that's come up. You have already answered that, but the question was from an anonymous user was, what's the difference between services provided by Valo Intranet and also SRKK? So I'll jump in on that as well. So SRKK and Valo, we're partners. So Valo Solutions is a product-based company, and we provide all of the products that the two that you've just seen, but also the other products that we saw on a slide deck. And we partner with SRKK. SRKK then deliver the professional services and deliver not only Valo, but the services associated to the implementation of that particular project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think right now, I think our partnership is mainly that Valo will provide these solutions, which is those ready web parts that we can just easily deploy to the customer's environments. And SLKK role basically is helping a customer set up the whole entire SharePoint into your environments, and also a subsequent supports that we're going to have, like those hot fixes. Yeah. So that's pretty much that how the collaborations comes together. Yep.
Okay, we've got another question that's come in. I'll just read that one out, and we can tackle that one now. And again, from an anonymous user, the question is: can SharePoint and MS Teams be used individually, or Azure AD must come into place? How the data will be stored? So. With Microsoft or Office 365, whether you're using SharePoint or Teams, you actually do have Azure AD in the background for the user management, right? So as part of your Office 365 or Microsoft 365 licensing, you actually do have Azure AD, and that is for the user profiles, the authentication, and that mechanism. So Azure AD is automatically there for you. Okay, if you do have on-premise AD, then that can be synced to Azure AD, and that's a common scenario where you've got an on-prem domain or an on-premise Active Directory. There's some tooling that synchronizes the on-premise Azure AD credentials and profile properties into Azure AD, so it's a seamless experience there. So you use the same username, same password as you do from on-prem to online. And they can, I mean, SharePoint and Teams. I won't go into too much detail, but yes, they can be used independently. So you can have an intranet and not Teams. I will mention, I won't go into too much detail, but a Microsoft team actually uses a SharePoint site in the background for the document storage and the document management. All right, so any Microsoft team does actually have its own SharePoint site that's backing that team for the content services.
Yeah, I think yes, that's how it actually works between like SharePoint and Microsoft Teams adoptions in your companies. And yeah, I think I do have a questions here, Daniel, if I can just quickly just on behalf of customers to have this my questions here. So I noticed that Valo having this either can act it as like intranet or extranet. So that does it mean that I can just invite my customers or supplier so to be on board with my SharePoint intranets?
Yeah, that's right. So it can act as, and utilizing the external sharing capabilities of Office 365. Now it can act as an extranet. So that means that you could have an extranet hub or an extranet portal that you could invite your external stakeholders or your partners or your vendors or your customers even, and have that externally facing portal. But what we tend to find is that the experience or the process, the out of the box process to manage those external users and share those sites or that team is very hard to do. So that's where the product that I mentioned before, Valo Entrance, really does streamline that. So what you can do is create these what are called access units, and you can map external users to resources. So you could have a HR site or an onboarding portal, and you could then say, right, user XYZ, you can have access to that resource. I'll put you in that access unit. Or company XYZ, all of your staff members can have access to this site. So that's pretty powerful and can provide a really good platform for an organization that has that use case.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, I think yeah we come to about the end. Yeah, I think if there's any more questions, just feel free to reach out to me or directly or any of my teammates. So we are happy to assist you. So let's do a sum up for this what we have for webinars today. I guess I really get more insight on this how Valo Intranet is that able to provide, especially on like corporate branding. So as you can see, just now was a demo in our SLKK intranets. I think that's really pretty cool that having a own branding for the companies. And of course, that also I get impressed with these employee directories, that how easily is that Valo can just manage it by just changing and then switch it over directly to the team chats. I think those are the things that could be just drive the productivities. And of course, on the content managed experience, that easily I can see is so much different from the default SharePoints that they have on the filterings. All this, I think metadata is definitely make a good experience that Valo in the Valo solutions. And of course, last one is more on the Microsoft Teams. So I think this is really a cool stuff that to adopt in the companies to really build a modern digital workplace, and just to onboard and drive the adoptions on SharePoint and Microsoft Team in the company. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I would like to just end the session just by having some contact and some our YouTube channel, our Facebook, and also our LinkedIn. Just feel free to follow, as well as Valo. You can search them from LinkedIn. And if you are interested with what we have in presenting today, and feel free to just book a demo by just scanning the QR code on the screens. So, however, my team will be also sharing the links over to the chat, so that you can just quickly just click and book a demo. So anytime with us. So we will be contacting you soon, right after this webinar, and arrange a schedule with you. Yep.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. And just final words from me. Again, just reiterating what Patrick said. If anybody either that's watching live or watching the recording wants to reach out for a demo, reach out to Patrick and SRKK, and we'll happily provide a more in-depth demo of each or any of those products that you just saw there.
Yep, definitely. Right. So yep, if there are more questions, we will just reach out to you offline. So if there's anything, yeah, we shall talk further. All right, so I think we shall end the sessions that we have about end of the webinars. Thank you so much again that joining us for webinar today, and hope you have a good day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.